What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast, your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and funny stuff every Friday. I'm Andrea Renee, joined by Miss Christine Steimer.
Yo, what up?
Hey, girl, hey.
Oh, hi.
And Miss Brittany Brombacher is taking the night off to be with her family because it's her birthday week. And we fly out to London tomorrow. It's wild.
I know. Well, yeah, London town.
I know. I'm super excited. So let's just get right into some housekeeping, shall we? As we mentioned, we will be in London, UK on Sunday, May 26th from 3 to 6 p.m. or from 1500 to 1800 if your fancy ass has to tell time that way instead. At the Marquee.
Do military time.
Yeah, exactly. At the Marquee of Westminster, you guys can find those address details over at facebook.com/whatsgoodgames. If you are planning to come to the meet and greet, it would help us out if you could RSVP to our Facebook group so we get a general head count sense of who is going to come. Several of you have reached out to us on social media to let us know you'll be there. We're super excited to see you. Please check our Twitter feed for details about it being an all ages event. I have reached out to our contact at the venue. I am pretty sure it is, but just to be sure, if you are planning on bringing somebody who is under the age of 21, or is it 18 in the UK?
I think it's 18 in the UK. Let me Google real quick.
Whatever the legal drinking age is, or
London.
whatever the age is that you can be inside pubs.
Oh, wait.
You should check
Why
our
are you
Twitter
telling
feed.
me the United States, you dumb fuck? Stupid Google.
Stupid Google. But we're really excited to go and meet with you guys. We know that there's very rare opportunities for people who follow What's Good Games to see us in the United States. So we will be in London this Sunday. Please come on down, say hello. We'll have snacks. It'll be great. We also have
like
18.
Go ahead.
18?
Look, the age of 18. And then also teens ages 16 and 17 may drink at a public restaurant or public establishment if accompanied by an adult.
Well then.
But not spirits, whiskey, or rum. And then those under 16 may enter a pub or bar if accompanied by an adult and just won't drink alcohol.
There you go.
So there you go. I mean, this is the internet machine, so that may not be 100% correct, but that's what it's telling me.
I like it. So come one, come all to the Marquee at Westminster in London on Sunday, May 26th. Also, because the month of Pride is almost upon us, we are selling a special What's Good Games Pride t-shirts. That's right, we have two different designs. And if you can get it in both men's and women's t-shirts. We got tank tops and we got sweatshirts. So we have a variety of styles for the two designs, the What's Good Pride and What's Good Games Pride. So please do check those out at whatsgoodgames.com/store because two important reasons. First, the most important reason, all profits, that's right, 100% of the profits are going to GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. You can see that nonprofit stamp on all of the listings on our Teespring for the month of May and for the month of June. And second, we're doing a flash sale that's sponsored by Teespring starting May 23rd through May 25th. I'll put the exact details on the What's Good Games Twitter, What's Good_games. By using the code FANFAVE, you get 10% off your merch. So not only do 100% of the profits go to GLAAD, and you get some cool Pride swag for the month of June, 10% off for those 2 days. So if you guys are around and you want to get some merch, and that code goes for anything in the What's Good Games store. Again, code FANFAVE gets you 10% off. And if you forget about this while you're listening, maybe you're out for a jog, maybe you're cooking dinner, you're like, oh crap, don't forget, just check out our social channels. We'll be posting those merchandise deals. And the May Secrets segment is up. You guys voted for us to talk about which books we'd like to make into video games. As expected, I picked something super fantasy and nerdy, but I'm very excited about my pick. And if I win the lottery, I'm going to pay someone to make it happen. And
we are both fantasy nerds.
Yes, and Steimer has inspired me to pick up some new books for the trip to London, which I'm going to have to go do tomorrow before I head to the airport. So that's it for announcements. A big shout out and thank you to this month's Patreon producers, Lincoln Davis, Alex Rigopulous, Faris Attieh, and Mohammed Mohammed. And welcome to our Patreon community, Marcus Brown, Justin Fleming, Patrick Fortier, SuperTuber Eddie, Brett G, and John Jennings. Thank you so much for becoming part of the awesome group of kids over at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. We have lots of membership options for you if you guys are interested, including an ad-free tier. There's tiers where you get a shout out on the show every month, where you get access to our exclusive after-hour stream. Lots of cool stuff. Patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. All right. Let's get into some news. But before we do that, I'd like to say thank you to our first sponsor of the show, Quip. It's time for spring cleaning, and Quip's got an easy way to start with your brushing habits. Just 2 minutes, twice a day, can help pave the way to a healthier mouth and mind. And now the whole family can get refreshed with Quip. The new Kids Quip has the same 2-minute timer and guiding pulses as the original version, with no childish gimmicks, so they can brush just like a grown-up. Plus, they've got watermelon anti-cavity toothpaste. Who doesn't want that?
Sounds delicious.
I know. Every time I read this, I'm like, I keep forgetting to go and order this. Plus, Quip comes with a multi-use cover that works as a stand, mounts to mirrors, and slides over your bristles to pack and protect your toothbrush on the go. Why? Because it declutters your sink and cabinet and makes traveling with an electric toothbrush easier. Plus, there are no wires or a clunky charger, and it runs for 3 months on a single charge. Plus, those brush heads are automatically delivered on a dentist-recommended schedule every 3 months for just $5. A friendly reminder when it's time to refresh and stay committed to your oral health. 75% of us use old, worn-out bristles that are ineffective. Ew, gross. Quip is one of the first electric toothbrushes accepted by the American Dental Association. They're backed by over 25,000 dental professionals, and they have thousands of verified 5-star reviews, just like ours. We use Quip on the go. I got it ready, packed for London. It's fantastic. It's super easy. Hopefully Steimer doesn't accidentally pick up my Quip in the bathroom when we're in London and use mine. But that's okay.
Mine's copper. Yours is a different color, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Mine's silver. See?
Ha-ha.
We got this all figured out. We love Quip, and so do 1 million happy, healthy mouths. Quip starts at just $25, and if you go to getquip.com/whatsgood, right now you can get your first refill pack for free. That's getquip.com/whatsgood. for your first refill pack for free. And just a little aside, I know that you guys can find Quip in stores now because I saw it the other day and I was like, oh, hey, look, there's Quip. But just remember, if you decide you want to try Quip and you use our promo code, that helps everything we do here at What's Good Games. It helps us keep the lights on, helps us get to London to do meet and greets like we're doing. So we appreciate the support. Thank you so much. All right, I'm serious. Now let's get to the news. The first story we're going to talk about today is Ouya's game store closes for good.
My question is, Ouya's game store was still live?
That's a very valid question. Summer, you want to read this one?
Sure, why not? This is via Eurogamer. It's the end of the line for Ouya, the Android game console, which sprung into life during the Kickstarter boom. 4 years after the final Ouya console dropped off the end of the production line, the platform's game store is also being switched off. Razer, which now owns Ouya, which I just learned right now reading this story, is bidding off the Forge TV and Mad Catz Mojo game stores at the same time on the 25th of June, 2019. Ouya owners are being encouraged to make any final purchases and ensure all games they want to keep are downloaded. If you do still have any funds on your account, you may as well spend them. An FAQ on the shutdown has confirmed there will be no way of withdrawing the money otherwise. Quote, you will continue to have access to the games that have been downloaded, Razer's FAQ states, though any games which require a purchase validation upon launch will not work. So you will have to contact the game developer for confirmation, Razer concluded. Released in 2013 after raising $8.5 million via Kickstarter, the Ouya was one of crowdfunding's highest-profile success stories, with some analysts questioning whether the upstart console challenger would disrupt the console market forever. Spoiler alert, it did not. That was me. Anyways, after shipping enough consoles to fulfill its Kickstarter audience, Ouya struggled to find interest anywhere else. Within 2 years, it had burnt through a further $25 million. Woof! From various investors and was languishing in debt. It was at this point Razer swooped in to buy the software assets while ending hardware manufacturing of the console itself. Goodbye, Ouya. I don't know that anyone will miss you.
Yeah, I also, like you, when I saw this story, was like, dang, I did not realize the Ouya marketplace was still going. But I guess it makes sense that Razer would want to operate the software side and try to recoup as much of their investment as possible. But I didn't realize that there was a further 25 million of investment from various investors. But also, yikes, I guess they all kind of went tits up there. So.
I mean, I don't know why Razer bought them in the first place, but okay.
Well, they just bought the software assets, so that's why they ended hardware manufacturing when they bought those assets off, because they were probably able to still make some money by selling software to the people who had Ouya. So when I covered the story,
I wonder if they did.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. And I covered this story earlier this week on Games Daily. We were having trouble finding an exact number of how many Ouyas were sold. I think the number that we settled on was like around 1 million, but but one of the sources I looked at said it was closer to like 100,000. I never really got a complete.
Those are very drastic differences in numbers,
right? Ouya lifetime sales. Let's take a look again. Who made Ouya? No. That's not what.
But not only that, even if you had a 1 million install base, that doesn't mean those people are actually active purchasers.
That's true.
Like the Wii had an insane reach, but not a lot of depth in terms of software sales for the amount that it had sold out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. I mean, because in order to sell software, you'd still have to promote it, and marketing of any kind is going to cost you money.
Yep.
So it's like, well, now what are we going to do with this?
Shut it down.
I guess. Make it
12
die.
years later or whatever. How long ago was it?
Yeah, I vividly remember when the Ouya Kickstarter launched, and it was the biggest deal. Everyone was like, oh my God, it's open platform and it's going to disrupt the video games business. And I was just so skeptical because I had been playing mobile games and tablet games for quite some time by that point, for a couple of years. And I was just like, why do I want this little cube thing? Don't think I didn't get one. I think it's still in the closet somewhere, quite frankly.
Oh, yeah.
I think I still have my Ouya. But I remember when they closed their Kickstarter with over $8 million, I was just like, wow, had no idea that they were going to raise that much money. But I think the way that smartphones have really increased their processing power really kind of never left space for Ouya to become successful. Like,
yeah.
Why do I need Ouya when I have my phone?
I was like you, where I was just like, I don't understand why everyone's going apeshit over this thing. This does not seem like the future, quote unquote. But it had a fun name to say, so I'll give you that. Ouya.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it says here back in 2015 that Razer reportedly purchased Ouya's investments and assets for $10 million. And
Yikes.
that it allowed players to download more than 1,124 Android games.
Android games?
But I can't imagine how many of those were optimized for that controller. Because
Or how many of those were like, what did those games cost? You only sold 1,000?
Yeah, I mean, because so many of those games are designed for touch interface, because Android is, glass interface instead of virtual controls. Huh. Interesting.
Like, I'm not a business person, but that seems like a bad deal.
It does seem like a bad deal. But
Like,
Razer's a smart company. Clearly, they must have seen a business model somewhere.
Sometimes people fuck up, though. Businesses are run by companies. Businesses are run by people is what I meant to say.
True.
People fuck up, like I just did in that sentence. So,
Well, I mean, later on in this story, they talk about how THQ infamously created the U-Draw game tablet. You remember the U-Draw craze?
Oh my God. I forgot about that. Yes.
What a boondoggle.
Yes, I do remember. Oh my God. U-Draw. Yes. What a weird little thing.
Yep. Man, video games. Sometimes we forget that these things are real.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, so I never got like a complete lifetime sales. Most of the sales numbers that I see are from 2013, so clearly those can't possibly be lifetime accurate.
What were the sales in 2013?
Well, it's from like the Kickstarter, which are like 68,000, I think.
68,000. Yeah, then maybe that 100,000 is correct.
I mean, maybe.
It's like I can't imagine that these things were flying off the virtual shelves.
Yeah, doubtful. Why would you buy an Ouya when you can just buy a bunch of games on your phone instead? Anyway, goodbye, Ouya. We'll pour one out for you. Next, speaking of THQ, THQ Nordic currently has 80 games in development. This write-up comes from Game Informer. THQ Nordic, the publisher behind Darksiders 3 and Metro Exodus, has been quietly acquiring game licenses and studios for the past few years, or not so quietly. In a recent financial report, it revealed that the company currently has 80, that's 80, games in active development across 3 major studios, with one being currently an unannounced AAA title from 4A Games, best known as the studio behind the Metro franchise. During the period, we signed multiple new projects, among them a new development agreement with 4A Games, the developers of the Metro franchise, for their upcoming, still undisclosed AAA project. By the end of the quarter, THQ Nordic, Deep Silver, and Coffee Stain had 80 games in development, of which 48 titles are currently unannounced, the financial report revealed. Alongside the reveal of 48 mystery titles came the announcement that THQ Nordic has acquired Piranha Bytes, and with it, the rights to all of its games. Elix, Gothic, and Risen joined the ranks of Time Splitters and Kingdoms of Amalur in the list of THQ Nordic's games acquisitions. These announcements come on the heels of the largest launch in the company's history with Metro Exodus, recouping Deep Silver's development and marketing costs. Coffee Stain's Satisfaction also performed above expectations after an early access launch on the Epic Games Store. So a little side note, I got to play a couple of these unannounced titles at Judges Week that I cannot talk about yet. And while I was there, I spoke to some of the members of THQ Nordic about their impressive acquisitions. And we kind of were joking about, I was like, man, you guys are just buying everybody these days. And he said, yeah, we have close to 200 IP in our portfolio now. And I said, wait, what? Close to 200 pieces of intellectual property? What are you even going to do with all those?
Yeah, you can't. I'm so confused by this story because it makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Because what do you mean you have 80 games in development? Do you own 80 studios? Like, who's who's making these games? I don't understand.
I don't know.
What do you mean 48 are like unannounced? Where are your other 30 fucking 40 whatever? Math is hard. That's a lot of games that you're saying are announced. Where are they? What are you talking about?
Yeah, this is wild. So I also talked about this on Games Daily because I was on Games Daily so many times this week. And we looked at the numbers, and I looked back over the last like 12 months. THQ Nordic has gotten almost $400 million of investment funding over the last 12 months to buy IP and to further their content acquisitions. But nowhere among that said that money was being used for game development.
Right. Like there's a big difference between we own 200 IP and we have 80 video games in development. Like those are two drastically different things. Because to have 80 games in development, you would need presumably close to that number of studios working on things. Sure, a couple studios are able to manage multiple projects at a time, depending on their size, but like,
Yeah. And like, I understand that most publishers own a ton of IP that is just sits dormant in their, copyright or trademark like folders on a legal server somewhere. They just own them. They're not doing anything with them, right? But the idea that 48 titles are currently unannounced makes it seem like they're going to be announcing them, and like 80 games currently in development. Like how, unless several of them are mobile titles that are going to have relatively short development cycles and then they're going to kind of like churn them out, it doesn't. I'm with you. I am flabbergasted by that number, especially since hypothetically, if these games are even AA, like mid-tier games, which we assume most of them probably are, like the average budget for a mid-tier game is what, like between 2 and 10 million, would you say?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's crazy to think that they would need roughly between $100 and $500 million to do development on that many titles, especially if even a handful of them are AAA. I don't know, man. It's wild.
I wonder if there's got to be some funky math happening here. I just don't know what it is because I don't have enough information.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, are you counting? I have purchased this studio and they own 10 IP. Therefore, we have 10 games in development from that studio, even though that is not true.
Right.
It's just 10 games you could potentially make one day in the future.
I have to imagine that's the case, right?
Yeah, right. Because otherwise, it just legitimately makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
I'm like,
with
are there
you.
even that many developers that are not bought by someone at this point? Like, I don't know. Because I'm looking at the actual Piranha Bytes press release, and it's like, yo, we bought them, and we've got all of this, like these IP rights. Okay, thanks, bye. And I'm like, okay, are those counting as like 3? You're saying you have Gothic, Risen, and Elix, and you've bought those 3 properties. Are those 3 of the 32 games that are quote unquote announced?
Yeah, it's hard to know because, like I said, when I spoke to the team, they said they have close to 200 IP now in their portfolio, of which 80 games are in development, of which 48 are unannounced. So
Like,
hypothetically, they have 120 other IPs that are just hanging out, not doing anything, that they just are.
I would wager some of those 80 are with those 120. Like,
I would
just
imagine
hanging out.
too.
They're like, it's quote unquote in development, aka we have an idea.
Someone did some concept art at some point.
Right. There's like some sketches on an iPad somewhere, and we liked them, so we'll definitely make it one day. But yeah, the sentence that made me go, huh? When in the middle of you reading what the story was, the company currently has 80 games in active development across 3 major studios, and I was like, no, that math does not check out.
Hold the phone.
Yeah, excuse me. That's not a correct statement.
Exactly.
So this is a very bizarre story, but I am excited for some of THQ Nordic's titles, and particularly, is it called Mutant?
You thinking of Biomutant?
Biomutant.
Yes.
That one looks cool.
I feel like that one's been in development for a long time.
Well, when you like get to build a little character and then like slash it up, yeah, I can see that. You can basically make your own anthropomorphic animal fantasy. It's like Redwall come to life.
That's true.
But
you could.
A little bit more fucked up.
I was so happy that they acquired the Kingdoms of Amalur IP because I loved that game and I would love to see more of it. But if anybody's working on it, that's clearly several years away. Definitely a next-gen title, but I would still keep my fingers crossed to play it. All right, let's move on to the next story. Would you like to read this one?
Sure. Our good old friend George R.R. Martin reignites rumors about a game with the Dark Souls creators. This is via Polygon. A new blog post by George R.R. Martin following the series finale of Game of Thrones teases that the author has been helping make a video game. The blog post says that he's been busy lately and, quote, even consulted on a video game out of Japan. While those details aren't too specific, a source told Gematsu From Software is working on an unannounced title with Martin, known internally as GR. The Gematsu report also notes that the title will be officially announced at Microsoft's E3 press conference this year, and it's a collaboration between Martin and, I'm going to butcher your name, I'm so sorry, Miyazaki. I'm not going to say your first name because it will be bad.
Hidetake.
Hidetake? Wait, no, Taka.
Yeah, Hidetaka Miyazaki.
Hidetaka Miyazaki. Nailed it. The source explains that the game has been in development for 3 years already and is an open world game with horse riding. Fuck yes. It will be published by Bandai Namco. Original speculation about Martin creating a Souls-like game with From Software spawned from a tweet from Liam Robertson. Quote, there is a From Software rumor going around that is absolutely bonkers. I think you should be hearing some more about this later today. The rumors only continued following Spawnwave's video talking about a collaboration with the Game of Thrones writer. The Microsoft E3 press conference takes place on June 9th, so we will wait and see then.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, I like how I love the way he wrote consulted on a video game out of Japan. Like, I don't know why that sentence makes me laugh, but it does.
I think this is just another nail in the coffin for Winds of Winter. It's never coming, you guys. We're never going to get it. He's given up on writing books. He's now a video game dev.
Well, yeah, it was crazy when reading that blog post of his, because he's like, I've been a little busy. I'm doing, and lists like 100 fucking things. And I was like, but what about those 2 books though?
But those books, yo, you were
like,
supposed to publish them forever ago.
It's just basically like when I don't know if you ever did this, but like you're like, I want to not do my homework. So I'm going to clean my house. I'm going to do my laundry. Like, I'm going to do things that are technically good and I should do them, but I'm not doing the thing I should actually be doing.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about Patrick Rothfuss and the 3rd book in the Kingkiller Chronicles too. It's tough because, you know, authors are people and they get to live lives and do whatever they want to do. And if they have other passion projects they want to work on, that's cool. But, you know, as fans of the work, I think we get so invested in these stories and want to see them have a proper conclusion that it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. However, there are reports, you know, that like the article said, that we're going to get to see this as potentially as soon as E3. And that's pretty exciting, but also dang, From Software, maybe like take a breath. Like they've been cranking out games. But
they sold me with horse riding, so I'm good.
Yeah, open world game with horse riding? Let's go. Oh, wait, is it going to have Souls bosses? No, thanks.
Run away. You can just ignore them all and ride around on your horse and pretend like they aren't there.
Yeah. But this is a really cool idea, I think. Anytime, you know, entertainment and video games can collide, I think it's good for the video games world. It kind of shines a spotlight to people who forget that video games are huge. That, hey, we're here and we're cool. So we'll keep an eye on this, and I hope that we get to see something. I'm down for a teaser. Bring it on, Microsoft. All right, next story. Dauntless becomes the first game to launch with PS4 crossplay. So Adam Bankhurst over at IGN writes, Dauntless has fulfilled its one Dauntless promise as it launches today with full cross-play and cross-progression on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC for Epic Games Store in the first game to launch with this functionality for PS4. Phoenix Labs' free-to-play co-op action RPG, Dauntless, promises one Dauntless for all players around the world to play together, no matter where they play, was a truly audacious goal, but one that was very important for the team and its mission. When we first started talking about the one Dauntless, we knew it was a truly audacious goal. Jesse Houston, the CEO and co-founder of Phoenix Labs, said, no one has ever launched on console with full crossplay support from the start, but we believed in our vision, and thankfully our friends at Epic Games, Sony, and Microsoft did too. Keeping the community connected is one of our top priorities, and with all the new players coming in at launch, there's never been a better time to be a slayer in Dauntless. Dauntless joins such games as Fortnite and Rocket League as those that support full crossplay across all platforms, and as mentioned previously, is the first one to support it at launch. If you guys missed it, last week I gave a lengthy preview of Dauntless as the feature segment for the show, and now it is officially out. And while I knew that crossplay was coming, I didn't know that we were going to launch with crossplay and cross progression, most importantly, which is super, super cool. And I'm so excited that this is happening, and I hope that this means that we're going to see more games do this in the future.
Yeah, it's great, especially the cross progression. Like, that's dope. If you're like, ah, shit, I got it on the wrong platform or whatever. Like, my friends are over here, and you just like, boop, hop on over.
Yeah, or if you're traveling, let's say you have an Xbox at your parents' house, but you have a PlayStation 4 in your college dorm, and you go home for the weekend or whatever, and you want to jump into some Dauntless, like all you got to do is log in.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I have that downloaded. I just downloaded that and Rage last night, so I didn't have a chance to play any of them yet. But I'm like, I'm eager to hop in there, build a pretty character, slash around, you know, kill some monsters, the usual.
I'm ready. Let's do it. I have also got it downloaded. I haven't gotten a chance to play it either because I actually haven't played too much over the last week, because the only time that I played anything, I was raiding in the Division, which we'll talk about later. But congrats to Phoenix Labs on your launch, and I hope that we get more games that do crossplay like this, I think this is hopefully going to open the door for more and more titles to offer crossplay. And I think all it's going to take is some more of like the big guys, the traditional multiplayer people, like your Apex, your Call of Duties, your Battlefields, to really kind of help keep pushing that over the edge. There were some comments I saw when the story launched from people saying, why, won't they let these other devs do it? They've said that they wanted to. Some people were speculating that because it's on the Epic Game Store and Sony has a very close relationship with Epic, that potentially that was why crossplay was supported at launch versus with Steam. And I was like, there might be something to that.
Yeah, that's a decent theory.
But
I do not know if it's true, but that bucket appears to hold water to me.
I'm with you too, because obviously Epic has done special things with crossplay with PlayStation. Fortnite was the first to get crossplay, and Rocket League, which also has a very close relationship with PlayStation because it launched in PlayStation Plus, if you guys remember. So that makes sense there too. Maybe there's something there. I guarantee you if I ask PlayStation about this, I'm never going to get a response. So I'm not even going to bother.
Oh, no.
They never respond to my emails. Speaking of PlayStation.
Speaking of PlayStation.
You want to take this last story?
Yeah. Sony opens PlayStation Productions to develop multiple game franchises into TV and movies. This story is via Eurogamer. PlayStation Productions is a new studio set up by Sony to convert its video game franchises into blockbuster films and television. Its first slate of projects is already in production, according to The Hollywood Reporter. And the idea is PlayStation will leverage its own links to sister company Sony Pictures and work on adaptations in-house rather than farming franchises out to external studios, and do it all better than some sort of dodgy game-to-film adaptations of the past. Quote, you can see just by watching older video game adaptations that the screenwriter or director didn't understand that world or the gaming thing, Sony Interactive Entertainment boss Sean Layden said. It's also about keeping fans of PlayStation's big franchises engaged while waiting for another game in the series. Quote, when fans beat a 40 to 50 hour game and have to wait another 3 to 4 years for a sequel, we want to give them places they can go and still have more of that experience and see the characters they love evolve in different ways, he added. So I think this is amazing. I'm stoked. It makes a lot of sense. Sony already has Sony Pictures. Why not work together internally as a company instead of like just basically leasing out your IP to people and hoping that they do it right?
Exactly. This is long overdue. And a tandem announcement to go with this one is that Sony confirmed during an investor relations presentation this week that it was developing a TV show based on the Twisted Metal game series. It also stated that the Uncharted movie is in, quote, advanced development. That write-up is from IGN. Sony Pictures Entertainment Chairman and CEO Tony Vinciquerra explained that the recently announced PlayStation Productions has closed the deal for a Twisted Metal show, though he didn't share many hard details beyond that, saying, we have a TV show we just agreed to get underway that will be developed from the IP on PlayStation. It's called Twisted Metal. It's a game that was put out many years ago, and we're going to develop a TV series around that. So not really a lot to go on there. I mean, okay, I was never a huge Twisted Metal fan, so I could be very ill-informed, but my thought was it's basically just like Psycho Clown car racing sort of thing. Yes, exactly. Is there a story there? I don't know about the underlying narrative around Twisted Metal because it was never my thing. This is where our pal Brittany Brombacher would oh, that's right, she loves Twisted Metal. come in handy, but she's out this week, so we'll get her thoughts on it next week when she is. Nope, not next week. We have a special E3 prediction show next week because we're in London. Week after, I guess. So I've just pulled up the wiki. Essentially, it just says that it's a car combat game developed by Eat, Sleep, Play and was published by Sony Computer Entertainment. It was the first game. Oh, wait, no, this title, Twisted Metal on PS3. No, that's not what I want, wiki. I want the original Twisted Metal. Oh, gee. Also, this PlayStation Productions will be headed by Asad Kizilbash, who was on their stage last year. I don't remember, but he's been around on the PlayStation conferences before.
He's been around.
Yeah. So let me tell you here. The game series centers around the Twisted Metal competition, which is a demolition derby which allows the use of ballistic projectiles such as missiles and machine guns. The contest is run by a mysterious man named Calypso, who grants the winner one wish that, in his own words, has no limits on prize, size, or even reality. The first game in the series takes place during the 10th annual running of the Twisted Metal competition in Los Angeles on Christmas Eve 2005. It was released for PlayStation in November 1995. So technically set in the future.
I was 10 years old.
What a baby. So I think that there's definitely some room there to make something fun, but it also sounds like it'd be an expensive show.
Yeah. If they use, real effects, but we shall see.
I personally just want them to focus on Uncharted. Just
get that Uncharted movie.
Make that movie happen. I'm so glad that Dan Trachtenberg was announced as the director. Just make it happen, Sony. But this is cool. I'm excited to see more. I mean, I would not kick a God of War movie out of bed.
It would be interesting, now with the new God of War to see that growth and development. I don't know that I would want to watch angry Kratos on screen like for a couple hours where he's just shouting at people. Mm-hmm. But the rebooted God of War I'd be into.
Well, and I feel like everyone talks about how The Last of Us is perfect for cinema.
Yeah, that also would fit. Geez, Neil. All of your stuff is really good.
Stop making such great stuff for movies, man.
I know. Or it actually is an interesting thought of like, if there are other stories in the world that like Neil or whoever wants to tell, but they don't necessarily have the time or budget for game development, like could they tell those stories through TV? Could they tell them through movies? And I think that would be an interesting sort of approach versus like, we're literally just going to remake the story of the game for you. Here you go. Instead of expanding on it and like showing you something different that you wouldn't normally get to see.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Because I remember when Corey said that he had all of these ideas for DLC, but they were all just too big, and Sony was like, "We can't afford to make all of these things, Corey."
Right,
that
and
would
they
be
take
really
a long
cool.
time, and not to say that TV or movies don't take a long time, but I think their production cycle is certainly shorter than a video game's.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Game of Thrones proves that you can move mountains in a relatively short amount of time if you really need to in TV and film.
You also might forget to edit out Starbucks cups or water bottles.
That happens to everybody.
I'm just saying, when you crunch,
yes, mistakes slip through the cracks.
Yep,
crunch means cracks. Be careful, be careful, people.
Yes.
You don't want cracks from crunch, okay?
No.
All right, well, that is going to do it for our news segment. When we come back, we're going to talk about what we've been playing. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. It is the second segment of the What's Good Games podcast. This is where we talk about what we've been playing. And this week, our hands-on impressions are brought to you by Upstart. As most of us have found out the hard way, getting into debt is easy. Getting out of debt is hard, especially if your FICO score isn't great. Sky-high interest rates can make it incredibly hard for you to break out of the revolving debt cycle. Thankfully, now there's Upstart.com, the revolutionary lending platform that offers smarter interest rates to help you pay off high-interest credit card debt. Sometimes life gets just so busy that you stop keeping track of all of your bills, and that interest can really rack up if you're not paying attention. And managing your credit can be just as simple as like min-maxing in your favorite RPG. Think of it like a game of adulting. Upstart goes beyond the traditional FICO score when assessing your credit worthiness. They actually reward you based on your education and your job history in the form of a smarter interest rate. Upstarts believes you're more than just your credit score. They make it fast, simple, and easy to check your rate in just a few minutes without affecting your score. The best part, once your loan is approved, most people get their funds the very next business day. The next day, you guys. Over 200,000 people have used Upstart to pay off credit cards, student loans, fund their wedding, or make a large purchase. Free yourself from the burden of high-interest credit card debt by consolidating everything into one monthly payment with Upstart. Just before the show, we were talking about annoying calls that people make. And some of those annoying calls are usually creditors. So if you guys are looking for a way to consolidate your debt, we would like you to check out Upstart and see why they're ranked number 1 in their category with over 300 businesses on Trustpilot. And if you go to upstart.com/what's-good, you can find out just how low your Upstart rate is. Check your rate. Will only take a few minutes and it won't affect your credit score. That's upstart.com/what's-good. I feel like I preach all the time about the importance of credit scores, and I don't want to have my mom hat on. But unfortunately, it's something you got to play the game at if you ever want to get a home loan or a big car loan. And a friend of mine was just having some trouble with her credit score. And I was like, let me help you. There are tools. I know it sucks. And I know that having credit is not great, but you got to have a credit score. It's just one of those unfortunate parts of life.
Absolutely true.
Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about a few of the games that I got to play during Judges Week and the embargo has lifted. Earlier this week, you may have noticed that the Oculus Quest and the Oculus Rift S have started shipping. That's the word I was looking for.
I was like, what are they shifting into?
So if you guys haven't heard, the Oculus Quest is the new portable version of the Oculus Rift that does not require you to be tethered to your computer. Instead, it runs with an app on your smartphone and has virtually no wires. And this thing is pretty incredible. I first got to play with it back at GDC at an Oculus event where I got to play Beat Saber, and it was pretty life-changing to be able to play a virtual reality game like Beat Saber where there's a lot of movement without having that giant tether that goes to either your console or to your PC. And so at the Oculus event at Judges Week, I got to play hands-on with 3 different games. One of them was for the Quest. 2 of them were for the super high-powered Rift, the Rift S. And so let's start with the Quest, which was Phantom Covert Ops. So based off the name, Steimer, what do you think that game is about?
I think it's like Rainbow Six.
It kind of is, except it's not squad-based. You're it's solo.
Single player?
It's single player. And it's got a lot of stealth elements. You have 3 guns. You've got an SMG, a pistol, and a sniper. You've got C4 explosives that you can use. And the traversal mechanic is in a tactical kayak.
What?
That's exactly the reaction I had when they first showed us the trailer before we got to play. I was like, wait.
How do you even fire a gun in a kayak
Wait, what?
knock yourself out of the boat?
So, okay, here's how it works. So this is a game that you play seated. So let me start at the beginning. So the studio is called Endream. So they've been making VR games for about 5 years. They've made several games in the past. And this is a stealth military FPS, as I mentioned. And so when you're sitting in a chair, you've got the 2 Quest controllers in your hand. And you move in your kayak just like you would paddle in a real kayak. So you have to move your hands like you're holding an oar and you're paddling from side to side. It felt really great, but just like I suck at kayaking in real life, I sucked at kayaking in the game.
Oh no. Because you suck at kayaking? I didn't know this about you.
Well, I get the hang of it after a while. And thankfully there's no water resistance in the VR game. It's so your arms don't get tired from moving around they would if you were kayaking in an actual body of water. But you still have to put your paddle on the right, on the left, on the right, on the left. And then in turning, I found to be incredibly challenging because you have to go right, trying to turn around. And I just felt so dumb because I kept running into stuff because I couldn't turn very well. But once I got the hang of it, it felt super smooth, and it was actually kind of genius way of traversing around the world. But the thing that I didn't understand was that you never get out of the kayak. You're in the kayak the whole time.
That's weird. So wait, so for the kayaking, you're saying like, so in a real life kayak, granted, if there's a current of any kind, to turn, I can just stick my paddle down on one side and turn right or left. You can't do that here. You have to like keep paddling one.
I didn't try that. Oh. I did. There was a point where I could push my paddle against walls to push off. Like if I got too close to a wall, I could like push my kayak away from the wall with the paddle. But I never tried turning that way. I didn't know that you could do that.
I mean, if there's a current, yeah, you're like, if you're moving along with something, you could just stick your paddle down. It'll go one way or the other. But not if there's no current, I don't think it would move you. You would have to like do exactly what you did and just paddle up
just keep paddling on one side. Well, that's good to know. I'll have to try that out. So in these levels, you go through and there's your very traditional stealth elements. There'll be like high reeds in the water that you can hide in. You can like stop in the reeds if there's a guard walking by. There's light posts that swing back and forth, like guard lights. You can shoot out with your guns or that you can avoid. And so with the guns, I wrote in my notes that the sniper felt the best because of the scope. And it was really interesting. So with the two controllers, I would raise my hands like I was holding the sniper gun, like in one hand and then, with the other hand. And I could actually see the scope, like the magnification in the scope when I held the gun up to my face. By using the controllers and holding the controllers physically close to my face, which I thought was a really cool touch. And so I used that for most of my kills, even though it wasn't like the sneakiest, because, if there were guards nearby, they would like see their buddy fall over and I'd be like, shit.
Is your pistol silenced?
Yeah, so there's a silencer on the pistol. Okay. But I wrote in my notes that it felt very difficult to aim at a distance. And so you had to, in order to use it, you'd have to be relatively close to your target because it only had iron sights. It didn't have a scope, which was kind of frustrating. And then the SMG, of course, is designed for close encounters. And I wrote in my notes that it felt very bouncy, good only for close encounters. I mean, traditionally, that's what SMGs are for, is for close quarters. But in a stealth game, you don't really.
Why would you even give someone an SMG in a stealth game? Like, that's a noisy ass gun.
Yeah, I really wanted like a crossbow.
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, to me that feels like what you would want if you're gonna be playing. So the way that you
the amount of kickback from an SMG in a kayak just makes me laugh. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I don't know why maybe that's why it felt so bouncy, because like you're in this like little thing that could tip over at any moment. But they have the magazines in front of you, like in this little shelf in the front of the kayak. So you would reach forward, grab a magazine, put it into the gun. If you guys have ever played a shooter in VR, it's like, it's a very like visceral kind of movement, shoving the magazine up into the gun. And I have here in my notes that they use an interesting use of lighting to maintain stealth, that shooting out lights is like very high risk, high reward. Because if shooting them out, you usually have to use a gun without a silencer, but then they notice that the light is shot out. I had a lot of difficulty because I thought the AI was very aggressive. And I don't know if it's just the level that I was playing in, or if you just really have to be good with stealth because it's a stealth FPS. But I thought it was really interesting. I don't know how I would feel about it. Generally speaking, when I play virtual reality, which isn't a lot, I'm not attracted to first-person shooters because that first-person mechanic is so difficult to achieve visually really well in virtual reality when we have amazing FPS games on console and PC that are either at 4K or at 1080p and anywhere from 60 to 90 frames. So not my favorite of the things that I've played on the Quest, but an interesting game nonetheless. And I will say the traversal was really well done. It felt really smooth. It didn't felt rocky. I never at any point felt like I was going to tip in the kayak, which is nice because that would be horrifying.
Yeah, well, I think it would just make people motion sick.
Yeah, that's true. It did feel very steady. I didn't feel like I was bobbing around in the water, which was great. But again, a whole game of being in a kayak. Kind of a head scratcher.
A little weird.
So one of the other games I got to play on the Rift S, so this is the super powerful Rift that I first got to try back at GDC as well, was Lone Echo 2. So of course this is from Ready at Dawn. That is the sequel to Lone Echo, which was Game of the Year nominated for virtual reality categories. If you guys ever played, they also had Echo Arena, which was their arena combat game. So Jack and Liv are back. These are your characters from Lone Echo, if you guys played that game. And it essentially picks up right where Lone Echo left off. In my notes, I had that the motion was still a bit nauseating because you're in space. And so it's like a zero gravity environment where you're kind of floating around and you have to grab pieces of the environment and boost yourself forward. And then you have these little jets on your hands that kind of like gently push you forward. They're not like Iron Man jets where you get like a lot of propulsion. They're like very soft jets. So you don't move super fast. And I had that the dialogue trees were a bit cumbersome and finding waypoints didn't feel intuitive. And so I was really struggling with this demo. I got motion sick pretty quickly in it. And that I don't want to say is necessarily a knock against the game. I tend to get motion sick in a lot of VR titles. And was interesting, actually, side note, I got the opportunity to talk to Jason Rubin, who is one of the heads of Oculus at Facebook, when I was at GamesBeat Summit, because I did a panel with him. And I mentioned this to him, and I was like, I'm so excited about VR, but it's so hard for me to play VR. And he said, well, it's interesting you mentioned that because, you know, there's a lot of studies that show that women in particular are prone to motion sickness in VR because of the way that their bone structure is inside their head, and it has to do with inner ear balance, particularly in women in VR. And I was like, wait, really? I've never heard that before. He's like, yeah, it's like a real scientific thing. And I was like, oh, maybe that's the reason why I always get sick in VR.
So what are your men brains like?
It has to do with the size of the bones inside your head, because typically men's heads and their bone structure are larger than women's are. And so I don't know. I would have to like look up the actual data that he was talking about and why, like biologically, why that is. But I mean, I know that inner ear has to do with your balance overall. And you're sending a lot of mixed signals to your brain when you're in virtual reality. And I was like, oh, I'll just chalk it up to that.
I love that I have now a scientific reason to not like VR.
Yeah, right?
Hell yeah.
I really like VR. I think it's super cool. I'm just not good at playing VR. Wait, is there a bug?
Yes. Where did you come from, tiny bug?
For everybody listening, Steimer's just swatting at the sky.
Swatting at a bug.
Yes. And so I'm sorry I don't have much to report on Lone Echo 2, but that game, I think it's just the motion of that game is something I'm never going to be able to overcome. But if you guys really liked the first one, there's a second one coming. Hope you enjoy it. And lastly, I also got to play a game called Asgard's Wrath. So I believe this is the game that Britt got to play back at GDC, and she had trouble describing. So it's an action combat RPG. I also got to play this on the Rift S. And you get to play as a variety of Nordic heroes like Loki. And they have large instances that are very similar to an open world, but not quite an open world. And the graphics on this game are beautiful. Some of the best graphics I've seen. I mean, so far, the benchmark is still Stormland from Insomniac, but this game looks fantastic. So what's really cool is that you play as this hero, and then you kind of it really does feel a lot like an action combat RPG, just like you would think it would. So you explore the world and you walk around to these different places, and then there'll be these like totems, and you can go over and you can kind of infuse into the god totem, and then it will pull you way back in the world, and it'll kind of give you like a god's eye view. And so you can move around and you can see different levels. And so you can be like, oh, if you're looking for a specific item or for a door, for like a quest point, you can kind of look around and see like where you need to go and how you can get there and puzzle solve, how you're supposed to get to that destination. Then you can go back down to your character model, and then you're back in the world again. And it was a really cool mechanic. I'm going to look up a little bit more details about this game. But, I mean, any game you get to play as Loki seems pretty cool.
10 out of 10.
Yes, 10 out of 10 indeed. So this game, what I liked about it is that so much of it, and I don't know if it's because of all the Thor that I've watched recently because of the Avengers, or it's because of God of War that I feel so well versed in Nordic mythology. But there's all kinds of Nordic mythology tidbits sprinkled around the world. You're going to see a lot of characters that you recognize, a lot of names. You're like, hey, I know that person. And I don't know. There's something about me that gets like super excited when I'm like, hey, I know that thing.
Yeah. Familiarity is a real thing where you're like, ooh, I know this, therefore I like it.
Yes.
That's a psychological thing.
So the combat is sword and shield. So as you can imagine, you're using your controller to swing at enemies in the world, draugrs. You got skeletons that are coming, and then you can, sheath it at your side. And then thankfully, if you drop it, you can resummon it. Because I dropped my sword quite a few times.
You dropped it. You were like, hey, why do I have to keep gripping this thing? This should just be in my hand at all times.
Yeah. And then there's little like secrets to find. Like there was this gnome that I ran across, and he was like, he kept asking for something to eat. And I was like, okay. So I went over and I found a crab walking around, and I picked him up and I brought him over to the gnome. I was like, crab. And the gnome was like, no, I don't want that.
He's like, no. It's first off still alive. I can't eat that.
Yeah. And then it got even cooler. After that, I was walking around the world, and I found, when I was in God's eye view, I found a shark like stuck in a tide pool. And so I grabbed the shark, and then it turned into a humanoid, and it became my follow companion, which was
like a humanoid shark?
Like imagine like a really beefy man, but with a shark head.
Wasn't that Zelda? Didn't they have like weird fish people in Zelda?
Maybe. Oh, I know. I think I know what you're thinking of. But no, but this is like a literal shark face with like the teeth and everything, gills.
Like that 80s cartoon?
There's definitely been sharkmen in the world of literature before, and I can't think of an actual named one. But he had the
sharks.
Wait, what are they?
Street sharks.
Okay, that's in Zelda.
No, sorry. Oh, no, that's an 80s cartoon.
Oh, okay.
Like humanoid sharks, where you're talking like really beefy bodies, but then like a shark head with the gills and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was wild. And so he became my little follow companion. And so when we were walking through this tomb, trying to find this artifact, I could send him to go attack enemies. I could send him to like pull down levers so that I could cross bridges, kind of like a little bit of co-op puzzle solving. And he had like the weirdest voice. It was so funny. And he was like very much like a quintessential meathead. He was just like, I want to go eat something. It's just like so funny. I was like,
all right.
I was like, why do I have a shark buddy? This is weird, but amazing at the same time.
Do you think you being the god made him into a humanoid, or was he always a humanoid that was trapped as a shark in a tide pool?
Oh, that's a really great question. I don't know. I'm trying to look up the name of the developer for this game. Let me Google it somewhere over here. But essentially, it might just be an Oculus internal.
I'm looking on the website. Oh, it looks pretty, actually.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like the exploration was really great. The godlike combat, or the godlike mode, going in and out of there. And some of the bosses are just massive. I think it's going to be super, super cool when it finally comes out. And
Sanzaru Games?
Is that the name?
Yeah. Sanzaru.
Oh yeah,
Games,
Sanzaru. That is correct. And so this is the kind of thing that would get me excited about VR. And they said it's going to be a 30 to 40 hour gameplay narrative experience.
That's a lot for VR.
That's a ton for VR. That's huge.
Yeah, it's like dog years to people years. That sort of weird conversion.
But I am glad that it's on Rift S because that is a much more comfortable version of the virtual reality headset than the Quest, and clearly a superior performance, superior lenses inside the headset, et cetera, et cetera. Very interesting, though, and certainly a game to keep an eye on if you are a VR enthusiast and you want to hear about more about Asgard's Wrath. Definitely check it out. All right, I think that's going to do it for VR. Before I talk about the raid, Steimer, let's talk about what you've been loading onto your Switch for our flight to London.
Yeah, so I have not played anything in a little bit, in a hot minute. I have played some stuff, but the things that I have left that I have played are still under embargo. I can't talk about. So what I did today was I was like, well, let me look at what I want to download for my Switch, because I'm obviously going to be traveling for a little bit, so I won't be able to play Rage 2 or Dauntless until I get back. So I found a couple, of course, little adventure games. One of them I had heard of before. It's called The Last Door. It's sort of like pixelated adventure horror. But and I normally, obviously, horror don't do. But I am like, this is a pixelated game. So I'm like, not that scared of it. It's probably not going to induce nightmares, maybe, hopefully.
That's good.
So I'm going to give it a shot and just see how it goes. Because the gameplay style is something that I enjoy. And I do like pixel art, so cool. And then the other one that looked really cute and like more if I need a palate cleanser is called The Little Acre. And I had never heard of this before. But it's also an adventure game. Go figure. And that one has just more like cutesy art. I don't know too much about it, so I can't really give you a super rundown. But I just saw it and was like, yes, the aesthetics I dig. Again, I like adventure games. I'm gonna give this a go. And then one that I know will be more of a surefire shot if I do need a palate cleanser and I don't dig The Little Acre is Unraveled 2 is now on Switch.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so I played that back at last year's E3 with Brittany, and we made the developers laugh a lot because her and I were a shit show, essentially.
That checks out.
I mean, similar to how sometimes I'll play with you, Andrea, and we will yell at each other, but in loving ways. We did similar things where we yelled in loving ways at each other with this like family-friendly, like two little yarny people. And I'm like, bitch, pull me up. I gotta go. We have to get to the top of this thing. And it was just like,
that sounds right.
The devs were like highly amused, but also like, what is going on? Like,
yeah.
'Cause most people in demos don't
yell at each other.
They don't emote a lot. They just sit there, they play the game, and then they leave. But so I'm looking forward to hopping into Unraveled 2 by myself. Unfortunately, I won't have Brittany with me, but it was still a cute game, and so I wanna play it.
Well, we could maybe play a little bit of co-op in London if we get reined in or something.
When we're like jet lagged, we'll just be like, cool, it's 3 a.m. Let's play some Unraveled.
Perfect. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I should actually load up some games. I still have Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu on my Switch that I haven't dug too much into, that I'm kind of excited about maybe spending some time with now that I've watched Detective Pikachu. But I also am playing through the final levels of Diablo 3, which is exciting. And I also downloaded Katana Zero. So I've heard a lot about this game. Everyone's been talking about it. So I feel this is kind of like I feel like Katana Zero is like the Celeste for me from last year, where everybody was talking about Celeste. And I was like, meh. It doesn't really sound like a game I'd like. And then I kind of like begrudgingly downloaded it and played it, and then I fell in love with it. So maybe Katana Zero will be that game for me.
Who knows?
Who could say? So
The Magic 8 Ball, break it out.
I mean, I got it right here.
There you go. Magic 8 Ball, do your work.
Will I like Katana Zero Magic 8 Ball? Without a doubt, it says.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
positive.
There we go.
There you go.
Thanks, Magic 8 Ball. Okay, so I've got a couple more things to talk about in hands-on before we wrap up this segment. I forgot that I can talk about Rad, but maybe I want to save that. So if you guys haven't heard, Rad is a game from Double Fine. It is an action-adventure roguelike, and it just entered closed beta on Steam. And it's pretty rad. I hate to use that because it's the name of the game, but I mean, it's like way cooler than I was anticipating it being. And I'm not saying that because it's Double Fine, because they always make great games, but I do not like roguelikes. I avoid them like the plague, because anything that forces me to die over and over and over again sounds like a bad time. And anytime I've tried a roguelike, I've gotten very frustrated. So it's a 3D action roguelike set in a post-apocalyptic world where humanity has faced Armageddon not once, but twice. So it's got that cheeky, fun humor that you can expect from Double Fine. And what I really loved about this game and my hands-on time with it was just the variety and how each playthrough truly felt unique because of the mutation system. So it's a top-down kind of isometric view. It's going to be coming later this summer. I don't know if
August 20th.
Yeah, they announced the release date this week, I think. Or maybe last week.
I just Googled it. So I saw it. I was like, oh, it's August 20th. Nice.
Yeah, so it's coming relatively soon. So it's the double apocalypse. It's got Bitcoin mutations and a sweet bat. The variations on the bats and the characters are persistent, which is a great thing to know. So like even if you die in the roguelike, which you're going to do a lot, if you unlock bats or characters in the game that you can play with, they will stay through your play session. You don't have to re-earn everything, which is great. You are going to have these things called quirks that will add parameters to your level over time. And they're going to have a couple of different biomes in the game. So you'll have these major shifts in environments and mutants, but I only saw one biome, the first biome. And of course, I asked them about accessibility features since it is a roguelike, and they said that they're not fully discussing all of the accessibility features since they're still tweaking them, which is great to hear. But they do have this guy in the world who talks to you, and he the one thing that he was talking to me about, he's like he really sasses you quite a bit, but you can turn on this setting in the accessibility features where he's the gentle elder, where he's nice to you and encourages you instead of disses you.
Oh, that's so nice.
And I was like, that sounds great and pleasant. I think I want that.
Some days you're gonna need someone to give you a little pep talk instead of trying to sass you.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a variety of these like little kids that you can pick from to play with. And then you go out into the world and you've got your bat, and it collects radiation energy, and you essentially replace the radiation energy with like flowers and greenery in the world. And then as you collect this radiation, you mutate, and the mutations are randomly generated. And so in my playthrough, while I was going through, the first mutation I got was a little like goober buddy on my back. I wanted to like say he looked kind of like a turnip, but he kind of was just like an amorphous glob.
It was like a blob there,
but he had eyes. And so I kind of wore him like a backpack. And then when I was wearing him as a backpack, he would shoot enemies, like spit stuff at enemies behind me. And so if I was battling, like if I was swiping at an enemy in front, he would shoot an enemy coming at me from the other direction. And if I tapped R1, I could set him down in the world, and then he would act like a turret and then shoot things around. And then I mutated again to upgrade that ability so that I could drop 2 of them. So he would essentially like split. And so I could drop 2 turrets, which was really cool because it kind of gave me some ranged attack. Because in a roguelike that's melee focused, it can get very intense very quickly.
Yes, yeah.
And then, so I'm proceeding through the world, and you collect these floppy disks and cassette tapes, which is kind of fun. And you use them as currency in the world. And every time you pick up a floppy disk, like the narrator guy says, floppy disk.
I can't wait for like all of the 10 to 15-year-olds to be like, what's a floppy disk?
Right?
Why is this? What's a cassette tape?
What's a cassette tape? And it's so it's pretty fun. And the third mutation I got before my play session was over was a flaming skull mutation. So it allowed me to essentially like pull a flaming skull off of my face and lob it like a grenade at enemies, which was really helpful because I'm much more of a ranged player than a melee player. But all of the mutations are random. One of the players that was next to me mutated and got wings, so he could like fly around the world.
God.
So he could like fly around.
I would have loved to be in the development, brainstorming rooms for this, to be like, what are mutations? You can pull your face off and throw it at people. Great. I love it. Wings, sure. Wings, why not? Let's Icarus this shit. And then like I don't know who else knows like what crazy shit they've come up with, because they always have some really interesting, fun ideas in their games and like little quirky things. So,
yeah,
I love Double Fine.
It's just so awesome to talk about and to see what Double Fine is doing with this game. I'm super, super excited for it and can't wait to play more. Like I mentioned, they're in closed beta right now. I'm not sure how you get into the closed beta. Let me take a look really quick at the press release that I got. One moment, please.
This is the 1 second song and it's 1 second long. Let's go.
Dang, I needed more than a second.
Shit, I thought you would be faster. It's a 5 second song and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds long.
Dang it, Steimer.
Time. I'm throwing you so many bones.
You really are. You really, really are. I'm looking at this at my emails because when I typed in rad, like a bazillion emails like pulled up and I was like, oh no. Because I remembered I was like worried about talking about it because I thought the embargo was for a lot later, and then they're like, hey, the closed beta is happening, you're cleared to share content from the first 2 biomes, and I was like, cool, that means I can talk about it, right? And they said, yes, you can, and I was like, hooray. So it's, let me see here. I guess I don't have any other details.
I don't know. All I see is slight information about a limited Steam closed beta, and that's all I see.
Yeah, I got nothing about how you join the beta. But it's out very soon, August 20th. It's coming to Xbox One and Switch and PlayStation 4 and Steam. You should check it out.
So many places.
It's gonna be cool. I can't wait to play
it on my Switch.
Yeah. All right. Now, the final thing I want to talk about, the Division 2 Operation Dark Hours, the raid, 8-person raid, might I add, in the Division 2.
Gut. Okay, give me a gut reaction. Love it, hate it, like it.
I mean, I had a lot of fun playing with the agents of WGG because they're a good group, but dang, I was incredibly frustrated. So what's the most frustrating part is that it's very clear that Massive optimized the raid for PC players and not for console players. And it's frustrating that they made certain mechanics defined by your ability to aim quickly and to move quickly, which is something that console players are inherently going to be at a disadvantage at compared to PC players. There was also things that were really frustrating from a performance perspective, with certain animations taking substantially longer on console than on PC. Like if you watch the console and the PC playthrough side by side, it's incredibly noticeable. And things like that in a raid shouldn't impede your progress. Raids should be difficult. Absolutely. You shouldn't be able to just breeze through a raid. But the idea that playing on one platform or another is going to impede you that much was incredibly frustrating because it was really out of our control. So for reference, the world's first clear of the Dark Hours raid happened on PC in about 5 hours. Since then, speedrunners have been getting through the raid in about 24 minutes, which is crazy talk for how fast that is. World's first clear on a console didn't happen for almost 3 days, and it took the first team 36 hours. Since then, the fastest speed run that I've seen at time of recording the show on console has been 3 hours. Now, when the fastest console clear is 3 hours and the fastest PC clear is 24 minutes, clearly there's a marked difference there, right? So the frustrating part for me was that I was ready to go in with the crew, and like getting 8 people together to play a game for several hours at the same time is challenging. You know? And not only were the controls a big hindrance, but it just felt like they almost put one too many mechanics in play for the first boss in particular. I haven't gotten to the subsequent bosses yet, so I don't know. I have watched some streams and some gameplay from other people who have cleared the raid, some of these top teams who are doing these speed runs now. And it's just like, I get that raids are supposed to be hard, and I think what we weren't prepared for was just how specifically optimized your build needs to be. And the frustrating part about a game that so heavily relies on RNG is that if you don't have the exact build to do the right amount of DPS on the boss in the raid encounters, then you can't participate, is kind of like a wah-wah.
That's why I don't like that people, like, it seems as though games of service, they look to have these RNG based, like, only systems for your gear. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. Like, look back at MMOs, which you're grabbing from, right? You're taking from in order to extend the life cycles of these games, and look at what they do, because they do it for a reason. And like, you can, yes, of course, get loot drops in an MMO, and you can also get raid exclusive drops or like dungeon exclusive drops, but you can also just fucking get gear at that level other ways. Like, there's other options for you. You're not totally hindered by RNGs, right? Like, you can get gear. It might be ugly, might be the ugliest fucking outfit you have on, but you'll have the stats you need to get through that thing, to get the cooler looking shit. And like, that's all people are asking for, in my opinion, is like, just give us an option, make tokens, whatever fucking currency system you want, and that's fine. This is obviously also a rant towards Destiny, where it's like, give me some store with some ugly fucking gear, I don't care, and give me the stats that I would need in order to complete this content, and then make super extra special cool shit that drops at RNG rates that are abysmal and will make me want to kill myself. That's fine. But you can't have it be so locked and tied to stats when you're like, well, just keep playing for it. You're like, but I'm not getting anywhere. Like,
right?
My luck sucks.
Yeah, it's a bummer for sure. And so I am gonna go back into the raid again, but I mean, I'm gonna have to do a lot of like min-maxing in a way that I wasn't anticipating. Like, I went down to the shooting range with a couple of the other clan members, and we were testing out some builds. And I love that the shooting range is an option where you can change the difficulty on the targets. You can see exactly how much weapon or how much damage and DPS your guns are doing against a certain enemy type. But at the same time, it's like having to do, you know, a very specific loadout that relies a lot on the drops that you get is kind of maddening in a way. So they either need to fix the way that we can recalibrate gear, add the optimization station back in, or they need to potentially drop some of the difficulty parameters around the raid and then maybe keep those high in difficulty for like a hard mode or a challenge mode. So that way, once you've run the raid a couple of times, you can get some of those gear drops, you can gear up, and then you can be more equipped to actually do that. So
yeah.
You
talking about this, oddly enough, even though you're complaining about it, has made me want to go back and play Guild Wars.
Well, you got your gaming mouse courtesy of Logitech.
I did, and now I'm like, oh shit, I should fire that bad boy up. I should hop in there, because you're talking about the raid, like, oh, they got it down to 24 minutes. In my head, I'm thinking about all the times I ran through dungeons with people, and we're like, all right, we're skipping this trash. Let's go on to the next thing. You just like run up on the side of the wall to try and not trigger them, and like, it's
fun,
good
right?
old days, yeah. I think
man.
So,
anyway, that's all I've got. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll get into our final segment where we're going to take some of your questions that we didn't get to during the anniversary stream. Stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. It's the final segment of the What's Good Games podcast. This is our feature segment, and this week we're going to be taking your questions. But before we get to that, I have to tell you it's brought to you by DoorDash. It's dinner time, but your stomach is a rumbling and you still don't know what you're gonna eat tonight. Sound familiar? With DoorDash, you don't need to get up from the couch to get a meal cooking. DoorDash connects you to your favorite restaurant in your city. Ordering is easy. Just use the DoorDash app and choose what you want to eat, and a Dasher will bring it to you anywhere you are. Not only is that burger place you love on DoorDash already, but over 310,000 other amazing restaurants are too. DoorDash connects you with door-to-door delivery in over 3,300 cities, all 50 states, and Canada. Order from your local go-tos or choose from your favorite chains like Chipotle, Wendy's, or the Cheesecake Factory, which I have to say is a Drake household regular stop. I'm not kidding. We DoorDash Cheesecake Factory almost every week. It's kind of embarrassing. I just can't get enough of that Tuscan chicken, you guys. It's delicious. Don't worry about dinner. Let dinner come to you with DoorDash. Right now, our listeners can get $5 off their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter promo code What's Good. That's $5 off your first order when you download the DoorDash app from the App Store and enter promo code What's Good. Again, don't forget that promo code What's Good for $5 off your first order from DoorDash. Now, I know there's lots of food delivery services out there, but we use DoorDash quite a bit when we're shooting What's Good Games here when the girls are all in the Bay Area, and we really do love using them. So if you've never tried them out, please do take the opportunity to check out our promo code. Now,
and if you're in the Los Angeles area, I highly recommend a restaurant called Pie Hole, where you can get macaroni and cheese pie delivered to your house, and it's incredible.
Now I want macaroni and cheese pie. I'm so hungry.
It's ridiculously good.
Now that we're all thinking about food, let's get to the third segment. We decided it would be fun to go back to our doc of questions that you guys submitted during our second anniversary stream, since we didn't get to so many of them because we started playing Until Dawn. So Steimer and I have pulled up the doc and looked at some of the responses, and we picked a couple of questions that we think would be fun to answer. So the first question I'm going to ask you, Steimer. If you could spin off WGG to another medium, movies, books, music, etc., what would y'all want to cover? Thanks, says Dennis Mitchell.
I think for you and me, we would probably love books / TV. However, Brittany doesn't like jam with either of those things.
Brittany literally does nothing but play video games, and that's the truth. She'll go to a movie if it's Pokemon, Final Fantasy, or Dragon Ball related.
Yep. Or if we convince her to come with us and drink mimosas,
that's true.
Then she'll go.
She does love horror movies, though. So we made a What's Good horror segment. She'd be all about that.
That's true. Yeah, she could do our horror movie beat, because I don't want to see that.
I don't mind horror movies, particularly if I go with friends, but I don't like playing horror video games because then I have to play and I can't cover my eyes.
Yeah, you have to do the thing and you're like, no, I don't want to go in that room. Why would I go in that room? But,
exactly. And then you have to run from the thing that's trying to kill you, and then you have to lay down and die as it's eating your face, and I hate it.
Yeah, because the movie, you can just cover your eyes a little and peek through your fingers.
Yeah, I always cover my ears because the music's always the scariest. And then if I just kind of like hum a little bit, like I'll hum like a little happy song while like really scary stuff is happening. I'm like, everything's okay, everything is fine. This is my happy song. And then the scene's
amazing.
over.
And then you're like, okay, great, it's done.
But yeah, I'm with you. I would like to do like a What's Good books. That would be fun.
Yeah, and What's Good TV would be great too.
Ooh, What's Good TV I would love.
Yeah, especially because like a lot of the HBO stuff is really good and it's interesting to talk about.
Yeah, so I'm watching Barry right now. Have you been watching that?
No, but I keep hearing about it, so I'm like, I should probably just go give it a watch.
Yeah, so the first season, the first like 5 episodes, a little slow. But as somebody who lives in LA, I think you'll find a lot of the references something that you can relate to. Not necessarily like the actor part of it, but just like some of the things they talk about being in LA. But I'm in season 2 now, and it's ramped up quite spectacularly. The second half of Barry got way better than the first half. And now it's almost too intense for me. I kind of feel like they may be jumping the shark a little bit, which is weird because it's only the second season. But I've heard that I got to stick with it. I actually had to walk out of an episode because there was just some like, I don't want to call it gore because it didn't really feel like gore, but like somebody got stabbed and like they like showed the stab wound in like really gross detail. And I was like, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to see that. Nope, put it away. Gross.
No. There was something weird about, so Greg watched Sons of Anarchy, and it was always like every time I would be like, okay, fine, I'll watch an episode with you, something horrifically gory would happen, and I would just be like, what the fuck is this show? What are you watching? He's like, it's not normally like this. But it'd be like I happened to, and I'll never get this image out of my head, so thanks a lot, Sons of Anarchy. The guy biting his tongue. I was just there's a scene where a guy bites his tongue off, and I'm just like,
ew,
I want to go throw up right now. Like,
gross.
That's terrifying. Not really terrifying, just stomach turning.
Well,
so yeah, I don't.
Thanks. Now I'm thinking about that.
No, but you didn't see it, and they actually like they don't do the thing where you cut away, like they show a thing happening. Obviously, it's not his real tongue, but like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. My brain doesn't know the difference. It's stupid.
My brain is stupid.
Kind of, a little bit, yes.
But I'm with you. I don't like bloody stuff. But yeah, What's Good TV would be fun. And trust me, we thought about it. Thanks for your question, Dennis. You pick the next one.
Okay. I'll pick a short and sweet one. What was your Red Dead 2 horse names? This is from our friend Woody.
Red Dead Redemption 2. So I had a couple horses that I liked, but my main squeeze was Stracciatella, which is Italian for essentially chocolate chip ice cream. And the reason why I named my horse this is because he was white with black spots, so he looked like chocolate chip ice cream.
Now I want chocolate chip ice cream.
I know, so do I.
So I went up and spent like 2 hours getting the fancy horse.
The Arabian, right?
Yeah, the all white Arabian. Oh, she's so pretty. And I named her Artemis after the goddess of the hunt.
Very nice.
Like, this is an appropriate name for you. I had other horse names, but I don't remember all of them, or maybe even any of them anymore.
I named one of my horses Smokey because he was gray, but his face was black. Like he had soot on his face.
He just stuck his face in the soot.
Yes. And then I got one of those really big horses. You know,
the draft horses. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name of the breed is, but they're like the giant ones. And I named
they're the Budweiser horses, but yeah, I don't.
No, it wasn't a Clydesdale.
Weren't they? Hold on, let me see. Draft horse, Red Dead Redemption 2. They were Belgian draft horses.
Oh, there you go. Maybe it just said Belgian on it or something. But I named him Gimli because after the dwarf in the Lord of the Rings, because I thought it was like a funny irony that he was a giant horse, and I named him after a little character.
It's pretty great.
Yeah,
I definitely kept the draft horse that was like one of the second horses they give you, or maybe the first. I don't remember.
The one where they make you sell your first horse against your will.
Yeah, And I was like, I don't know. I keep him. He my friend. I don't remember what I named him, but something probably to do with his coloring. But I
Yeah.
don't know if it was like midnight or some other stupid version of that.
Chestnut.
Yeah. And I had a couple other horses, but honestly, once I got Artemis, like, I didn't even bother.
Number one bay horse.
Mm-hmm.
I get you. Thanks for your question, Woody. Let's see here. The next one I want to ask you is, I think it's kind of funny, so I'm going to ask it. Darth Stridius says, it's been such a long time since you guys had a third section of the podcast where you had a random conversation. Will that be coming back? I kind of feel like this is that, maybe?
A random conversation?
Where like we pick like a random topic.
Oh.
It's been a while since we have had just like a random topic, because generally we use it as like a feature segment now where we spotlight a specific game or an event or something, but where we just pick a random like topic.
We did used to cover more TV/movies occasionally in this segment. So no, we have not had this conversation, but I guess we could use it for more things.
We could talk about Game of Thrones of 1 week since it's over now.
Yeah, since it's over, we could give it. Yeah, the next time we're back, we'll be like, look, you've all had time to watch it.
Spoiler cast.
Spoiler cast of Game of Thrones. What we thought of the last season.
Dude, I'm down.
Let's do it. Brittany will be like just sitting there.
We might have to wait for another duo show and do it without her. In hindsight, that probably would have been a good thing to do this week, but oh well.
Whoops, it's okay. Hindsight 2020.
Yeah, we'd rather take your guys' questions instead. But if you guys ever have suggestions for stuff that you'd like us to talk about, what'sgoodgames.com/dearwgg, as a reminder, is open and available to anyone. All you got to do is submit it on the form. It's that easy, friends. what'sgoodgames.com/dearwgg. All right, your turn.
Our friend Toby has a question. If you could play one unreleased/rumored game right now, what would it be?
Ooh, this is a good one. Unreleased/rumored game right now. Well, there's a little bit of a difference there. I maybe want to put those in two categories, because unreleased games that I would play right now would definitely be Borderlands 3. I had a blast with that game, and I absolutely would sit down and play that after recording the show tonight, if it was available to play, but it's not. What about you for an unreleased game?
So mine's going to be a bit of a cheat. It's still technically unreleased, but it has been announced. Starfield by Bethesda.
Oh, yeah.
I want that game. I think the concept of it is like my complete jam. So I would pick that one if I could play that right now.
Dang, I guess if we were picking stuff that's announced but a little bit farther away, I would pick Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. I'm trying to temper my expectations, though, because it's been so long since the last one, and I have a feeling this game is going to be wildly different, that I don't want to like get my hopes up and then be disappointed.
Yeah, for me, I only played a bit of the first one on my 360. And I don't have like super strong ties to it. I just think, especially what they showed last year at E3 visually, I'm like, yes, I'm down with this. This looks interesting and cool. I want to play this game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Also, I'm a weird sucker for anthropomorphic things. I'm like, yes, give me all the anthropomorphic animals in the world. I would love to talk to a pig. I would love to talk to literally, I don't know. Like there was a monkey in that demo. Sure. Why not?
You just want all the animal friends.
I do. I would love it if I were a real Disney princess and they all flocked around me and sang songs to me. That would be incredible.
That would be amazing. It kind of reminds me of that GIF that I made of you for your birthday.
Oh my God, it was so horrifying. A for effort.
But it was you with a bunch of animals, like you were like Cinderella or something.
Slightly deformed Cinderella, but yes.
Listen, I didn't superimpose your face. A piece of software did it automatically. So what if your face was like substantially larger than the rest of your body? For rumored games, that one's a little bit trickier. Because while there are rumors of some interesting projects out there, I don't like. It's hard to know like what's real and what's not. I mean, I could pick a game that I wish was rumored that I would like to play, like Portal 3, for example. But that game's not rumored to even be in development, let alone, something that would be playable in the next 3 to 5 years. Tears.
True. Cry. Oh, I cried.
Anything rumored that you find exciting?
I'm trying to figure out is Fable 4. I don't know if it's technically ever been like, even if it's still technically rumored, or if it's at this point it's just like there's something happening and we know something's happening, but whatever.
It's definitely rumored something in the Fable franchise is coming.
So I'm going to go with Fable because I loved Fable 2. I played like 100 hours of Fable 2. I loved the shit out of that game. And the DLC for that game was really good too.
Ooh, that makes me think of Dragon Age.
Ooh, well, that's not rumored. That's announced.
Well, no, we don't know. It's not announced. It's just like
Dragon Age.
Something,
yes, it is.
Well, it's something in the Dragon Age franchise. They haven't confirmed that it's Dragon Age 4, or have they? Did Mark Dara confirm it was Dragon Age 4? I feel like he might have.
I feel like they did, but now you've got me questioning it.
Maybe.
I mean, it's still going to be the same storyline continuing because it's soulless in the trailer.
Right.
So like, regardless of what form takes shape, brain. You know what I'm saying. It's going to be, it's not going to be a completely random thing, right? Like, it's going to be tied and rooted in the world that they developed from the last Dragon Age.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
But yeah.
Next question.
Yeah.
Is it your turn to pick, or is it my turn to pick?
I think it is yours. Oh no, sorry, it's mine. It's mine.
Okay.
Let's see. If you could completely erase one gaming experience from your memory just so that you could experience it again for the first time, what would it be? This is from our friend Mark.
Ooh, that is a good one. If I could erase one gaming experience so I could experience it again for the first time.
For me, you
go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you had one or not. For me, I think it would probably be BioShock.
Holy shit, that's what I was gonna say.
Really?
Yes. Oh my god, we're like psychic twins.
Oh my god.
That's wild. Yeah, that was exactly what I was gonna say. Okay, give me your reasons why.
So my reasons why are, number one, I didn't want to play this game. And so like,
too scary.
I was like, that's gonna be scary. I don't really want to deal with it. Also, at the time was like, first person shooters, can't really do that. But there are so many special moments throughout BioShock that I still vividly remember, and my memory is shit, as you all well know. Like, I don't remember anything, but I remember a lot of things from BioShock. I remember the first time that I had like the shock ability, and I shocked this like puddle of water and like killed some guys via electricity, and I was like, oh, it's not just a gun game. Yes, I have fun powers. This is amazing. And then I remember the first time trying to come to terms with needing to kill a big daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
what do you do with the little sisters?
I had to psych myself up for like 30 minutes just to take him on. I was literally just walking around, and he's walking around just chilling because he's whatever. He doesn't give a shit about you. And I was like, do I have enough ammo? Can I do this? I'm going to die. Oh, fuck. But you seem so nice. Okay, just go. Like, super struggle. Finally, did it. Took him down. And then, the decisions of, do you harvest the little sisters? Do you not? I did not.
I harvested the first one, not knowing that you shouldn't harvest the little sisters. And then I didn't harvest any more after that, but it was too late. I had already harvested one. I was done for.
I feel like they should have given you that leniency, because when in a game, when it tells you to do something, you assume that is what it wants you to do. Like, you don't necessarily think about it as hard, especially because you're like, oh, this is sort of like tutorial land or whatever. Yeah, sure, I should be harvesting this thing. You're teaching me the mechanics of this game. And you're not necessarily having like the moral quandary of like, do I do this or not?
Yeah, what's interesting is that there's like two sides to that. One side is You're absolutely right that sometimes, because of the fantasy of games, you don't necessarily understand the wrong and right of it. I think back to like my kind of disposition against killing newts in Days Gone about like, but it's just part of the game. But then also BioShock does so much play on morality and really kind of messing with your head about like what's right and what's wrong and what's real and what's not, that I think it may have also played into the psychology of that game. And it's just so artfully written. Experiencing that narrative again for the first time would be fantastic because the way that they build upon each area that you unlock and all of those different audio logs that you find, like I still vividly remember that boss fight in the theater and like being like so freaked out about it, and I was just like running away and like running back in and running away. Like the splicers in general are like terrible
so
enemy AI. I'm just like, oh my god, it's got scissors for hands and it's running at me.
And it has weird bunny ear mask on. I don't like it. What's going on?
Oh my gosh.
Like to your point about the morality and stuff, like I don't feel the first time you harvest a little sister, I don't feel like that's fully understood by the player yet necessarily.
Yeah.
So that's only where I wish there was a little leniency there where it's like, okay, if you harvest one, that's one and then never again, like you'd be okay.
Right.
I just wish that they would give you a little bit there because again, I don't think you quite understand the depth of the game until you are really in it, and then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I gotta think about this. And then the other moment I still remember distinctly is the "Would you kindly" obviously reveal.
Right.
And my mind was fucking blown. Like I was just like the whole time.
Yeah, it was such an amazing moment at the end. And again, if you guys are listening to this and you're like, man, I've never played BioShock, please pick up the BioShock collection. They remastered it for current gen consoles, and obviously it's available on PC as well. It's definitively one of the best video games ever made, like in the top 10 video games of all time. And it absolutely holds up today. I can't really speak to the other two, to BioShock 2 and to Infinite. Infinite was such a divisive game, but the original is just so iconic. I can't say enough about what a fantastic game that is. Conquer your fears like Steimer and I did and muscle your way through it, and I think you won't be disappointed. I also think it's crazy that we picked the same game.
Yeah, no, I do too. But that's still one of the games that like I have the most memories of.
Yeah, because it left such a lasting impact. When people ask us, and we get asked all the time, like, what's your favorite game, or what are some of your favorite games? And I think about my top 10 list, my personal top 10 list, BioShock is always in that conversation, without a doubt, because I played it a couple of years after release because it wasn't something that was on my radar when it originally came out, because FPS was a genre. Ironically, that's one of my favorites now, but it took me a really long time to get into as a gamer. I just hated FPS when I was younger, mostly because I had a lot of trouble with the dual sticks. And so once I kind of conquered my fear of failing at FPS and played games like Halo by myself and played campaigns and played it on the easiest difficulty until I got comfortable with it, BioShock was just one of those games that I was just like, I'm never going to be able to play that game. And then I finally sat down and did it because I think it was one of my colleagues at Mahalo Video Games that was like, how have you not played BioShock? And I was like, I don't know. I just didn't play it. So I would say the same to you. How have you not played BioShock? It's one of those games that every gamer should play.
Yes, I would agree with that.
All right. Last question. Trying to decide if I want to do this one or this one.
I don't understand that one.
You don't?
This one? Wait. Oh, hold on. Maybe I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not looking
up here.
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. Honestly, coin toss. Or we could just do both.
Okay. So Brian MX34 asks, which would you prefer? The power to teleport anywhere or the ability to never need sleep? But you can sleep, though, if you want to.
I mean, sleep is fucking great. So clearly, I mean, I would pick teleportation, like hands down. Even though you would get more stuff done if you didn't have to sleep. Number one, sleeping is amazing, and it's one of my favorite hobbies at this point in my life.
I love sleeping too.
And like, you can still save a fuck ton of time if you can teleport.
Yeah, dude, I've always wanted to teleport. I think the desire to teleport was strongest when living in Los Angeles, and I think anybody who lives in Southern California can relate that if we could just get rid of the 405 altogether, and if we could all just like teleport, that would be so nice.
Yeah, teleportation would be great. I would love that shit. Be like, okay, you know what? I feel like getting gelato in Rome today. Let's go. Bling! Like, you just go get one. Come on back.
What was the name of the movie where that guy could do that? Jumper? Was that it?
Yeah. There was a
Jumper movie.
Yes, Jumper. Yeah, it is. Jumper.
And it was with the guy who played Anakin Skywalker, right?
Correct. That is, yes.
Wait, no. Is that it? I think so.
It is that. Because the other one that was similar titled is Looper, which is.
Oh, Looper was different. Also very good. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen, aimless David Rice has the ability to instantly transport himself to any place he can imagine. He uses that gift to globetrot, living on money he steals by jumping into bank vaults.
That would be pretty cool.
To steal money?
Honestly, I hadn't even thought of that application. Like, my brain doesn't go to like nefarious things immediately. I'm just like, cool, I'd like to, instead of flying for 9 hours to, tomorrow, whatever it is, I would just like to blink and be there.
Yeah.
And skip all that bullshit. That would be nice.
Yeah, I don't need to like teleport for nefarious reasons, as you mentioned. If I could just teleport to save time, that seems like that's good enough for me. A satisfactory outcome for me too.
Time and money, because you don't have to buy plane tickets and you don't have to deal with bullshit airlines and their goddamn garbage.
I'm gonna tell you though, if I could teleport, I would pay the same ticket price. I would, just to save the time.
If it was like a
fee,
an ability that you could purchase per use or something.
Right. Like, think about how in Days Gone you have to pay in gas, which costs money. So essentially, you're paying to fast travel. If you had to pay to fast travel throughout real life, I would do it.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, I would prefer it to be free, of course.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a special power you have, I feel like it's free.
Yeah.
But there was one other like sort of version of the teleportation thing where it's like, I don't remember what the or was, but it was basically like, you can teleport, but you gain 5 pounds you can never lose every time you do it. And
no,
like,
what?
Oh.
Why? That's awful.
Yeah,
damn it.
I was like,
guess I'm never teleporting anywhere. Wah, wah.
Yeah, that would be an emergency only situation.
Yeah.
Like someone's got you at gunpoint and you just teleport away.
Yeah, true. That'd be worth the 5 pounds, obviously.
Right.
Who made up that stupid rule?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just the thing I've heard where I was like, that's infuriating. That would be so like frustrating to know that you had the ability to get anywhere instantly and couldn't do it.
Or it'd be like WALL-E and we'd all just be like super fat.
Yeah, or we would just be like, fuck it, I'm buying bigger pants and just go.
Yep. Experience the world, but just a little heftier.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun. Thank you so much for writing in again. We appreciate you guys taking the time to stop by the anniversary stream. I know it was a couple of weeks ago now. If you guys missed it and you were hoping to catch it, you can watch the archives both on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/whatsgoodgames, or at youtube.com/whatsgoodgames as well. We have it broken up into 2 sections. The first part where we're doing the Q&A and showcasing our fun compilation video, which is also on our YouTube channel, by the way. And then the second part, which is the Until Dawn gameplay portion, which is pretty fun. So thank you for tuning in this week. Don't forget about our meet and greet in London, just a couple days away. Very exciting. And thank you again to all of our patrons for supporting us, our Patreon producers, and our sponsors. And that is going to do it for this week. Again, we have a special episode next week, our E3 predictions with a magic 8-ball. It's a fun one, you guys. So we hope you enjoy. And we will be back the week before E3. It's kind of crazy. It's happening so fast, Steimer. It's just like 2.5 weeks away.
I also just don't know where this year has gone in general, but yeah.
Yeah,
It's been strange.
exactly. It's like my dad told me as a kid, he's like, enjoy it, kiddo. Every year it gets faster. And dang, if he wasn't right. I feel like it was Christmas just yesterday.
Yeah, same.
And now it's almost June. Well, there you go. All right, everybody, we're going to sign off. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.